opens up with Galaxy.
Now, this is Nights with Dennis Walter.
Round and round, up and down, in the streets of your town.
It's 8:07. Good evening, Dennis Walter with you, and I'm looking forward to having a chat through the 4 hours. 133 693. Plenty ahead on the program. Peter Hitchener after 10 with the talk of the town. The fun of the Wednesday nightcap from 9. Darren James and Andrew McLaren will be with me. And plenty more, including one night late because they wanted to sort of soak in exactly what was in the budget. We talk finance, especially for people who are retiring or in their retirement years, with the boys from Jacaranda in about 20 minutes' time. Brett Steen and Blake Wendt will be joining me, and your questions are very welcome. 133 693, that's the number, right through the evening. Right now, though, in the studio with me, Monash councillor Theo Zagrafos. Good evening to you.
Hello.
Any sort of roundup of what you thought of the budget?
Well, look, Dennis, I think it was overall, not a controversial budget. It doesn't cut as much as we've seen in previous first-time budgets that we've seen in previous governments. I feel like it was only yesterday that we were talking about the last budget. I mean, this budget has come around 7 or so months after the last one. So it's a bit unique in that sense that it's sort of like a mini budget, or rather just a sort of awkward time to have a budget. But politically, I thought it was okay. I think it's very conservative when it comes to its forecasting. I think they're being as pessimistic as they can. So with the
messaging from the Treasurer right through this past few months has been very gloomy.
Yeah, look, and Treasurers generally are sort of the bad news people in the leadership of the government. They have to make tough decisions, obviously. But I think my take on it as a layman is that they're being as pessimistic as possible because they know that if you do that and things get better in the lead up to the next election, you can then take credit for that improvement in the underlying performance of the economy. So
I've just felt, I think Jim Chalmers will be Prime Minister one day, but I've just felt myself that he's been very pessimistic over the past few months. That's just my reading of it, given that he was so critical of the former government. Now that he's actually inherited the role, he's been very pessimistic, but we'll watch it with interest.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there are enormous challenges for the economy and for the government and for all of us, really. So I'm not saying that it's rosy outlook at this stage, but this is always a political statement, really, and it's about setting the tone for their government, and that's what he's doing so that he can exceed those expectations at the right time.
133 693, your thoughts on the budget. Love to hear from you. Hey, Theo, a few weeks we were talking about council-type issues, and down my way I told you about this wonderful shopping village called Highton. There were plans to perhaps make it into a 4-storey shopping centre.
Right.
It's the perfect shopping village, and after 4,500 signatures voiced their opinions, council has decided not to proceed, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Well done, Dennis. I'm sure that your, discussion on this matter in previous weeks has lended that sentiment to the council. But I think, unfortunately, my experience has been it's not usually the end of the matter. In my experience, yes, the council refuses, and then it goes to VCAT usually, and then it usually comes to a compromise. So I just keep an eye out for that and keep in touch with the council, because if they go to VCAT, they will be having their legal case represented, and they will be able to push for the sentiments of the community at VCAT.
133 693. Hello, Stephen. Stephen?
Theo, I don't know about... Hi, guys. Theo, did you see anything in the budget? Because I missed it. He was spruiking prior to the budget about helping unemployment and age pensioners, and my parents in particular, who were looking forward to seeing what they were going to do, saw nothing. And there's only anecdotal evidence that they might look at it in March, but we're not sure what they're going to do in March. Do you think he's going to help age pensioners and the unemployment and those who are disadvantaged with high energy costs now? Because they really need relief now, not in 5 months' time.
Yeah. So, Stephen, are you talking about the proposal to allow pensioners to maybe work part-time, or are you just speaking generally about the cost of living?
Yeah, I think
issue
it's more generally.
general, yeah. Look, I mean, I didn't
Just
see,
the cost of living. Yeah.
I didn't see a particular proposal in the budget, but that doesn't mean it's not in there because I obviously haven't read through every budget paper. But certainly the sentiment that we've seen, Steve, from this government is cost of living is front of mind in their wording when they're talking about the budget, in their promotional material in the last 24 hours, etc. But you're right, they're sort of more focusing on the younger demographic. From what I've seen, families, with children, etc. So, unfortunately, nothing yet. But there will be another budget early next year. Well, there will be an economic statement in December, and so hopefully they make more of the issue that our older people are going through at the moment.
Pension age people are going to be able to earn more. That's part of this budget, so that's a good thing. But that's not coping. That's not helping people like what Stephen's talking about, who are probably past getting back into the workforce, or maybe don't want to,
or they can't for whatever reason,
and can't perhaps. Theo, out in Monash, have you ever had a concept as a councillor that has a coffee with a councillor?
Well, we've got some great cafes, so I'm always down having coffee with people. But look, not so much coffee, but take my A-frame out, sit there on the street corner. I've done that, I don't know, hundreds, maybe even more than 1,000 times in the last 10 years. And it's all about being approachable and being accessible to the residents and the ratepayers. But I'm always happy to start new things, Dennis.
Well, it sounds like a really good idea, but my perspective of this would be that you are likely to be sitting down with the same people week in, week out. And there'll be a whole lot of other ratepayers in your area who wouldn't bother you for a chat in a million years.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be sitting down with the same people constantly, I can't see that it's going to be that fruitful.
Well, look, I think with these things, and I've just noticed you're having a coffee and I'm a counsellor, so we've started the first one here tonight. Yeah. But it's about when you schedule them. Like if you want to do a proper program of those type of town hall or coffee with a counsellor concepts, it's about scheduling them. It's about scheduling them. It's about then sending out the notice so people can actually know to make time in their diary to come over. And that takes a huge process, and, you have to print notices and that sort of thing. With me, the last time I was out was probably about maybe 7-8 weeks ago. Because of the state election, I don't want to confuse people who are, seeing other candidates out in the streets. But it's about just being accessible, whether it's answering the phone when someone calls you or calling them back rather than letting it go for days.
Or answering emails?
Yes, absolutely. My Saturday mornings, Dennis, are answering emails because, I've got a full-time job, so I don't do it every single day unless it's an urgent matter. And after hours, answering emails. And I've now learnt how to delegate and get an outcome quicker, whereas back when I was elected all those years ago, I was doing it part-time during the week and learning about the process of getting outcomes.
133 693. What do you think about the concept of coffee with a counsellor? Would it work? How would it work? Or would it be just better to have just more maybe group meetings with a counsellor, where 40 or 50 people can be there and you just field questions, someone facilitates the questions and you answer them.
Yeah, and I've done that over the years, I wouldn't say in recent years, but absolutely town halls I'm a big fan of because anyone can ask you a question. It's like talkback radio in a sense that anyone can ask you a question, and if you've got the answer, you answer them immediately. If you don't, you come back to them after that event. But they take a lot of time to organise, and sometimes people don't turn up because there has to be an emotive issue. We saw that one in Maribyrnong last night. That's obviously a serious issue for those people that are living through those parts of Melbourne. And if people don't have that emotive issue, they generally don't turn up. That's been my experience.
133 693, and let me put this out there for listeners. Dog-friendly workplaces are the latest incentive to get people back into the office instead of working from home. Would it make people come back into the office? Or what has it taken to get you back into the office? Or has it been a direct order? 133 693. Dog-friendly workplaces, are they part of the answer to get people back into their offices? 19 past 8, 133 693. On the text from Max, Theo, can you ask your guest if there was anything in the budget for carers and disability pensioners?
Max, unfortunately, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on the budget. I've had a look at it, but nothing comes to mind. No. But the NDIS obviously is a big expense of the budget. I'm sure that the NDIS, certainly with carers and disability pensioners, would come into play there. But we'd have to come back to you, Max, if there's any more detail you need at this stage.
Thank you, Max. 0477 693 693. If you want to send a text, flick them through to me any time, right through the night. Or 133 693 if you want to have a chat with Theo Zagrafos, Monash counsellor and regular contributor to this program. Theo, a dog-friendly workplace. You're a counsellor, but you have a job.
Yes.
Whose dog?
Well, look, I don't have.
Does everyone turn up with a dog? The Labrador, the Kelpie, the German Shepherd, the Bull Mastiff?
It'd have to be the cutest dog, first of all, and you can have a contest in the office about that as well. That's another bonding session that employees can have. But I don't have a dog. I do have a cat, and when I'm working at home, Dennis, he is all over me, which means that if I have to go to a meeting afterwards, I've got all this cat hair on top of the jumper.
Good look.
Yeah, it's
very professional.
And I need the hair because I'm obviously losing it on top. But look, I love having the pet at that time of the working day. But as we know, workplaces are a different story. And with this day and age, with OH&S requirements and policies and all this sort of stuff, I don't know where that all fits in. Obviously, there are requirements for people that need assisted dogs. But
what if you're like Tom Elliott and allergic to dogs?
Well, he's going to have to put up with it. Depends what the policy says.
I'm allergic to his Hawaiian shirts, but that's another issue.
Yeah, I've never seen them in person. But I was quite...
They come with the volume control.
Right. Okay. I'm not going to comment because
but Tom's allergic to dogs. When Laura V used to come into the studio with me on afternoons, Tom would claim that once he came on air, he would have an allergy to it. So it's not going to suit everyone.
Yeah, well, look, of course, there'll be people that have those those unique factors, I guess. Having said that, it's not going to be something that will be mandatory. This is something that I guess will be consulted with if corporates or businesses want to do it. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be looking at these ideas, because in this day and age, you need to keep your staff. You need to keep them motivated. You need to think about things that we weren't thinking about 5-10 years ago for employees.
Would businesses be a little bit nervous at the moment, given there have been so many people during this period who have gone, I want to try something different? If they've got happy employees who are still working from home the majority of the time, wouldn't they be just a little bit reluctant to upset the apple cart?
Yes, but they also generally know what their employees want. They survey them often. They take anecdotal evidence and feedback. So they're not going to do something that's going to be wholesalely or unpopular in a large sense. So I guess we'll have to wait for one entity to do it, and then it'll catch on after that, I would have thought. 133
693, a couple of topics there. What did you think of the budget, or was it just a pretty conservative budget at this point, addressing a few of the issues that we have ongoing? Coffee with a counsellor. Would you go and talk to your local counsellor? Because I reckon I honestly think that you must have experienced these people who they perhaps are retired and they just take on board local counsel, and it's almost like you're the enemy.
They're usually former counsellors, Dennis.
Oh,
because what happens is you lose the role and you still have interest. Look, I think, and it doesn't have to be with me, because people might not want to have a coffee with me, but they can have coffee with other counsellors. I think it comes back to, there are some people that don't answer calls, aren't accessible, and I don't in any way condone that. I think that's ridiculous. Why would you get elected and go to public office? So you need to be approachable and accessible. And I think if you're out in the community, whether it's at the footy, at the cricket,
all the right stuff there,
when I go to a supermarket, rarely am I not stopped twice or three times at the Coles, by someone that wants to discuss something. And they're genuine issues. They're not those people that you said, can't let go or have nothing else to do but attack the council of the day, which does happen. So, look, I think if anyone ever wants to call me, they know where to find me. And, let's have a coffee when you're in Oakley, Dennis. I'd love to have you there.
That would be great. And what a great spot to have a coffee. 5 p.m. is becoming the new 7 p.m., Theo, for workers. driving trends to dine out, but do it earlier.
Yes.
And I think this was happening a bit even before
Very good.
COVID, where there are a few restaurants where you
No, I haven't got
would have a
whatever
queue of
said,
people at
darling,
5
and I think
o'clock.
it's real
Mamacita is
sort
one
of
of them at the top
lightish.
of Collins.
Yep.
Lightish,
But maybe
rather than
that's
lightish
a good
darkish.
thing. I think it's been that way in the States for a long time, where people will just go and grab a 40-minute, 45-minute meal and then head home.
Yeah, or if they're working from home already, they might have started a bit earlier and they can, finish by 5. Me personally, I rarely finish at 5. If I do, then I will continue on after dinner. There's always something that needs to get done before I go to bed that's urgent work-wise. But the world has changed, Dennis. It has changed since COVID. So, 5 p.m. is the new 7 p.m., 60 is the new 70, or rather 70 is the new 60. People are working later in life. They're working later in the day. So, maybe 5 p.m. is the new 7 p.m.
I can just see it becoming something of the future. One of the things I'm struggling still to come up with an idea, or I cannot see the city getting back to its bustling best. Possibly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yes, and maybe Fridays when, people perhaps will go in on a Friday. But if people don't have to go to the workplace, I just cannot see how the city, except for those middle of the week days, will become vibrant again, like it was again.
Well, maybe it won't. Certainly, this
I want it to.
This state government has, for what I've seen, has the view that they like the balance. So they want people to go to their local shops and also go to the Melbourne CBD when they're working in the Melbourne CBD. It depends on what any future government wants to do in that regard. Have a particular policy to say, everyone must come in 4 or 5 days a week. Therefore, that will have a wholesale change on the issue.
It's a changed time, and the question is whether it'll change back.
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone really knows. We don't know a lot of things that will be happening in 12 months or longer, really, in my view. So let's try to help our businesses as much as we can by just as consumers in the interim, and hopefully it does get better.
Theo, good to see you. You're going home to do some work right now?
Absolutely. 8:30 is the new 6:30.
Thank you. And midnight's the new 10 p.m.
That's it.
In my case.
Good night.
Theo Zagrafos, thank you very much. Good to chat. 8:28. Coming along shortly, more of your calls.